Janjusimbi Nyamle, Sanji Goban Tobi Chirdo, Tabachimbi, Nyamlen Chiala, Guno, Janjusim, and Nyamlen Chia to the Passion to Nyamlen the Res. Sinada, on the Nyamlen Chia de la Rangu Mimber Chibige, and the Passion to Nyamlen Siada, Shen you do a Chibige, do you over she is, Shen you Mimber Chibi, Rangu, do you over she Nyamlen Chia. Sinada, Nietzsche, that Rangu Mimber Chivas, so Rangi, and Sena da nga zu sena yore di ma mya ba sya la ma to jimbe nyam le chia da nga zu gi shen la nyu be samba yore lu ma yus mi shen la nyu be samba yore di samba di nga zu dikpa cha go re sena di dikpa cha go re je san de su nyom ma ba re da shen la nyu be samba de mya ba sya la su tu nyam le chi go re di shen de nyu be samba mya ba su go re 아야지 코로나야다 셈 투야디 아주 되네기 레요데 제 수변냠네 지고 수변냠네 이게디 잖아 코로나야데 메바스도 고래 나 지금 아직 기회 자와 현래 펜버르다 기회 자와 현래 레로 실리고로 제가 레로 지지하게 되냐기 dum바 메데지 제가 레로 되라야 만주 전주냠네 제도 다 레로디 메바스 고래 제가 당한 저게 남의 셈 기회 출라 마상바자 셈라 말아지 반 남버 얘네 최직을 삼다도 제지 니마토바 책으로 셈 남의 지산디 아주 딩이 전주비 신의 주 신의 냠는 제가도 디 아니 셈 남의 되게 바가지 유가를 삼다는 될 제지도 니토바 준 거로와 지산 디네자 삼대 냠는 제야 대셔럽 냠는 세야디 간주 유용 유가는 신 우의 니수도 하 먹어와디 디무샤고래 디메바 소야라 가서 제바체시 대도비기 제바 동유도비 셔럽라서 셔럽 기어도 되는 유용어 니수 짐마치신 하고 통거래 지난 디도용도 동유도이 되네 마 미시비 디모디 메바 소고 지난 디 마주기로 여바인자 대서 메바 소야라 아니 파진도기 냠는 지구레스 디메 냠는 지어도 나주기라 되네게 하고야게 아니 삼노디게 차상수 기행을 민기리에서다 신도라서 민세나 대시 신도 마민바나 베 사모라에 춘추로 와데 민세도 저 사야기 뒤서 다다 차야 차거로 어디 나신 차거로 민용을 했어다 아주 계획 자와의 양중 규례 기용을 디게하게 된다라 파진주게 냠내서 당한지 디인주 진변 냠는 제하게 디고셔야 될 약한 고주 디서 고주로
Good evening. So last week we came to look at a topic within the context of the trainings that a being who is a bodhisattva, a being who has entered into the Mahayana paths, engages in order to become a Buddha for the sake of others. And we saw that these trainings can be divided into two general sections, those that ripen one's own continuum and those which ripen the continuum of others. And we saw that those that one engages in order to ripen one's own continuum are the 6 perfections, and that the trainings that one engages in order to ripen the continuum of others are the 4 ways of positively influencing others. In the 6 perfections, we've heard the list of these many times, those of generosity, ethical restraint, patience, joyous perseverance, concentration, and wisdom. So these we too need to train in, because we also need to achieve the objective of the 6 perfections, despite not yet being bodhisattvas. So through training in the perfections, one eliminates the corresponding or the opposing afflicted mind. Because each of the perfections is a virtuous mind that serves to eliminate an opposing afflicted mind. And it's in this way that one ripens one's own continuum through cultivating a perfection, or one of the trainings of the perfections. And so here we can understand the word ripening, or ripen, in the same way as we use it in everyday society. For a fruit to be edible, it needs to ripen. So for the result to be achieved, there needs to be a ripening process. So this is how we can understand the term. And with the 6 perfections, we're training in ripening our own continuum through cultivating virtue and eliminating non-virtue. In particular, when training in generosity, one is counteracting and eliminating the selfish afflicted mind of miserliness. when one is training in ethical restraint, one is counteracting and eliminating the affliction of harmful intent, the wish to harm others. When one is training in patience, one is overcoming anger. And when one is training in joyous perseverance, one is overcoming laziness. And not just laziness in general, but laziness in relation to engaging in virtue. Because one may be very busy in engaging in a variety of activities, but from the Dharma perspective, that is still laziness. And then through training in the fifth perfection, that of concentration, this overcomes distraction, in particular, distraction to a virtuous object. And through training in wisdom, one overcomes ignorance, in particular, the ignorance that does not understand reality, that does not understand how phenomena exist or phenomena abide. So all of us, having these afflictions from miserliness and so forth, we need to eliminate them. Therefore, we need to engage in training similar to the perfections, but engage in training in generosity, ethical restraint, patience, and so forth, in order to ripen our own continuum.
Jimba said, Tangan Jugi, Jimbi Lo Jaya di Dongwei Semba Sele, that's Ganzuki, Sosuki, Yundi, Nada, Sosuki, Lu, Longjo, Karina, Shanlia, Ya, Jigging, Sempe, Dongwei, somebody, Samba Jaya, the Dongwei Semba said, Jimba, Yamnajas, the thing on the Samba Jaya, Dongwei Semba said, Jimbo Winnie, and we did that, Dongwei Semba Chago, Jizan Dongwei Semba said, Jimbiki Moro did it.
The entity of generosity, the meaning of generosity. So firstly, it's a training. And we remember that the literal understanding of the word training is to gain experience of. So what is it that one must gain experience of? It's cultivating the wish to give. So the practice or the training of generosity is cultivating the intent, the wish to give. And what is it that one will give? Whatever one has, one's resources, one's varying good qualities, one's body, whatever one has, one gives. So the training of generosity is developing a way of thinking, a way of wanting to give. In other words, developing an open heart and being generous with others. This is the training in generosity, cultivating a wish to be open towards and generous towards others, the wish to give.
Jisa di mateba de karcheberesene sosuge sena jingme sembege ngarangu segi jingme sembe samlo chiyo ba di sena sigore ngi shalne jingme sembe samlo chiyo di sena sigore di samlo de ngazu yo ba nza ngazu jege nibo yo ba ne je tugo marwa je tugo mar ning mo jige denere andina shin tanga juge jige sosuge luju kone shanlia kanga se roba chewoina sosuge jetuye lulia deni nibajida ane gogabro shobine sosuge dengi jigime sembe samlo shorwa deni ko roba jege stomwe luki kale jade kolya tege samlo mebanza ngonzo di jetugo mar jesa denga zo jaya di ngonzo tongwe semba chamba ina tongwe semba de yabosh leba ina ngonzo di lalengo su tatu gore ngonzo ki pa ro cheya de lalengo su tamotu ba di ngonzo samlo nale ya tongwe semba de yabo meba jingi lalengo su tatu go mare jesa lalengo su tatu ya la tongwe semba de jango ta tongwe semba de jangwa yabo yoba na lalen ko ka prena lalengo su tatu go wa.
When one comes across unexpectedly someone in need, so let's say we come across someone who's hungry, here it's very easy to solve their suffering, to resolve their suffering rather, and that it would be through giving them some food. But if we lack the wish to give them food, we won't help them, we won't give them anything. So generosity, as we just heard in the previous segment, its essence or its entity is the wish to give. we lack the wish to give, despite meeting someone who is in need, and us having the resource to give, we won't do so. And what holds us back when we're aware of an opportunity where we can give to others? It's our own afflicted mind of miserliness. When under the influence of the affliction of miserliness, we then actually lack the capacity to give to others, despite having the opportunity and the means. Rather, we will look the other way or make up an excuse. So what we need to do to overcome this affliction of miserliness, this selfish mind that keeps us focused on our own benefit, is we need to develop a wish to give in our meditation. And the stronger this wish we develop in our meditation, the more readily we will take the opportunities that come our way. And even where we lack the resources to fulfill the needs of others, we will certainly give rise to the wish to be able to do so in the future. And this comes about in dependence on training our mind in the wish to give.
Na jimba dela riksum chuki jimba ane michibi jimba sazingi jimba saji da chuki jimba saji da ngana juge sosugi da jik chue nyamlen je hago wo xingba di na lasam namda gi thone phajolya anji lobchong ti di she di an chuki jimba chagro ma zu she je kolya gewa saya da koyugi da dinigi nyamlen ji yoya gi ani ne so xingya di je jinga juge 바 소소 신발 바 납지 콜레야 신주바이나 안데 신주야 되는 취기 좀 바쳐거로.
Last time we started to look at the three types of generosity. The three types are the generosity of giving the Dharma, of giving fearlessness, and of giving material objects. So we looked last time at the first of these three, that of giving Dharma. And here this is independence on one's own knowledge and experience. One shares this with others, one gives this to others, helping them in terms of gaining knowledge or information over areas where they lack knowledge and information, as well as information or training rather, advice on training in integration of that knowledge. So this would be the giving of Dharma. And tonight we'll start then with the second of the three, that of giving of fearlessness. So this is on page 40, and the second point from the top. Giving of fearlessness, this is then directed towards other sentient beings, whether humans or animals, and those, and in particular other sentient beings whose life is in danger. And the sentient being whose life is in danger, one gives them fearlessness by rescuing them or saving them so that their life is not lost. This is the giving of fearlessness. So one trains one's mind here in the context of the giving of fearlessness, that towards any sentient being, whomever they are, should they encounter danger, or any sentient being who encounters danger, I will not discriminate. I will help them in accordance with my ability. I will protect their life.
유비 원기 제왕기 토네 신 소토가 다야 여바나 델이야 소레 타야기 교바이나 된 미치고 진바쳐거래 아니 마 잡제데 마기 노래 시에기 냥아 여바나 대숨 야 소레 겹치파 타답제 탈비 탑시한 탈비 타답제바이나 아니 델이야 아니 지게 가소로이 미치비 진바쳐거래 진짜 마라 소바세데 가시는 마 잡제 가시는 마마진다 정한 저기 추부 잡제 아니 지기 써야게 가시는 가시게 둑제제 아니 고화당 둑제제 고소야게 삼 데네 하고 바는 데솔을 껴바는 소어들 껴바이나 먼저 껴바는다 데네기 아니 미치비 진바 차고래.
So looking at the text then, giving protection to those oppressed by the wrath of kings, soldiers, etc. So here we should understand this in a very broad sense. It's those who are facing danger from those with authority. So we can think of kings, armies, dictators, in general, whomever has power. If they are abusing that power, using that power in a way that places others in danger, we should help where we can. We should protect life. So again, we need to relate to this style of writing in an expansive way, because we're not so likely to meet people who are in danger either from soldiers or kings, but we can understand it though between conflict within a family, between individuals, between communities. Where we encounter this, we should do what we can to protect life.
Nizam ko bene magi jabyo de delia magi nanglo le shiye nyenga yobane ko solo gyobaina mijibi chimba sedu ko dene ma jebje ko sobaina ko jiru meba soruwa jeza mijiba ji ko bene ko shena da jiba dele tarje shiye gi jiba dele tarje ani ko gasne dele sono ko chezoro jeza dele gyobaina 코 세ring도 내기 아니 마시바지 윤도 내야 차거리 디파 진바 차거리 와다 가서 솔로 껴봐야 코 세ring도 내봐디 아니 가르쳐 것은 껴판지기 뭐 껴봐 인장 코 세ring도 내버려 와 껴관 매나 대시로 걸어 와 제가 디네자 미지비 진바 시도코 아니 람사 야 된양아 디 토네 아니 코 마시와체 안델야 세ring도 내기 자기 요반자 미직바디 진바레스도 그 세련네 바디 바뀌어바디게 될 때는 용하자 진바스 오래돼.
It's of course very apparent that helping those who are in fear of their life, protecting those who are in fear of their life, protecting them from dying is a good thing to do. So that should be apparent. But perhaps it's less obvious why this is included in generosity, in the training in generosity. So what is it that one is giving, remembering that the entity of generosity is the wish to give. So here, one is giving to others, in particular to those who are in fear about their life being severed, is saving their life. And thereby, one is giving them the opportunity to live out their lifespan. The lifespan that they have, for the span of life that they have, to be able to fulfill that. This, giving them this opportunity, is the act of generosity.
나디 예보다 말아서 비기 지발이 겹 정도 대딩한 저기 미다 되게 나눠려 미기 토내가 저기 강아 소리 내가 요바 될 겹바될 시거다 지대 예보세야다 마자야다 되게 아니 지금 미편전 투보자 증리 따다 미기 독제제 파소야 때 미기 현다 소야게 탑름다 말아요와 되게 토내 계속 차상을 되게 소리 겹바이나 될 미식 비친 봐서 제상당 저기 되게 겹긴 샘비게 되게 내가 연나 등이 될 겹긴 샘비게 삼로데 장도르 매바이나 파셔들 미니 투보지 직서로 지기나 한 저기 다 되게 삼로스 매나 아니 장도르 매나 아니 검시라면 오픈이지 됐어 마도 제가 겹이야기 탑시 땅 말와 다 되게 겹긴 샘비 삼로도 배 장도르 제다 검시로 삼로를 슉 첨보로 여바이나 남사디 겹이야기 탑시 탑름 지기로 와 제사당은 저기 다 예보다 말아서 비기 지발에 껴바디 다 미치비친 바사 직차고 제사디 딩아저 미기 밀이야 미기다 마저 셈제 밀이 나다다 마소 쇠캔디 미차고래 미셰 다 쇠사들 미에 용고를 뒤로요 다마를 용고로 진데니기 미들을 껴봐야 나가저이다 미기 마쇠에게 탑람 델레 파 타르체는 겹투바이네 셈제 나다 미 나다 디니 껴봐야 나다 저게 다 디소네 미치비치 바사지
People, sentient beings, particularly humans, are very inventive in ways to harm others, to take life. We know of already so many ways that life is intentionally taken. So there are many different forms of warfare. There are many beings with power, such as kings and others, who use that to bring harm to others. And this is certainly true in our human world. It's also true amongst animals. And if we And it's not just, of course, in circumstances like that, but we should also bear in mind those which we're more likely to encounter between humans, which is conflict between individuals. And here, if we imagine ourselves in a situation where we see someone's life is in danger from another individual or a group, if we haven't trained well at a time like that of grave danger, we may well be paralyzed by our own fear. We may not have and thereby, due to this affliction arising within us, not be able to use our wisdom and think, how can I act skillfully? On the other hand, though, if we have trained well beforehand, the Dharma develops great strength of mind within a skilled practitioner. And in a time like that, this inner strength will arise, and one is much more likely to be able to get involved skillfully. Dharma, in a variety of contexts, helps one have a heartfelt courage to be able to engage skillfully. And in the kind of circumstances that one may find oneself having the opportunity to practice the generosity of fearlessness, again, we need to think about this very broadly. The being whose life could be in danger can be a human or an animal. The being who's threatening their life, they too can be a human or animal. So in terms of the beings involved, it can be either. It can also, the means is very wide, as well as the method. So we engage in these in our meditating, thinking about what we may encounter, developing the ever stronger wish to be able to protect beings and help them live out their lifespan.
냐주시 소야 다데네 냐주 주교ben 통바이나 저기 냐디 안지게 코살수 고마소니엘야 주요ben 저기 냐디 뉘에제 안에 야고 체타나 당바이나 대고 미식바지 마차고 니나신 아주 미기 안지 부스 이게 냐야 다데네기 부제량 코로 저기 셈chen 제 칼라게 체도 부제 심제 안지 제 안지 사야게 체도 부르시 되네 통베네 대종한 저기 투반 뉘에시 안에 곧바 곧 세타다 려샤바이나 대대서 미치비치마 차고래 소래 교고로와 곧미 셈쇠에게 괜찮리에도 그 소래 교바에서 미치비치마
One who's training successfully in this in the wish to give, in particular giving fearlessness, not only will they more readily engage when a being's life is in danger, but they may well choose intentionally to seek out beings that are in danger and help them and be of benefit to them in a time of desperate need. So, for example, someone has developed a strong wish to help beings whose life is in danger may go to a shop that sells bait and buys a whole lot of bait that would otherwise, those worms would otherwise be pierced with a hook and then fed, probably still alive, to a fish. So here someone would buy that bait and go to the appropriate environment and release those sentient beings. And thereby, even these tiny little sentient beings would be able to have the opportunity to live out their lifespan. So this illustration of animal liberation, this too is how one can practice the generosity of fearlessness.
That is Bene Shengi Nuba Jense Sudu Simjin Shengi Shen Saguba Soju Sayagi, Dene So Juel, Nyanga Yoba Desulia Gubana, Dene got Sola Guba, Yugor, watches a Juda and Jimmy, that's Simjin Chigli and never just say So Juagi, Denishan Desulia Sola Gubina, and it is so, and the Jiggy Bichi Bichimba, as me Bene. Da dene sigla sopagi dene mis chigu sagale de yang roba che midi tele ya jo to vaina ane michi bichimba chegore dina shin simjen dunro shanda sagale de tele yo jo vaina ya jige desole ya michi bichimba chegore jisan.
The illustration I've just given, then we can relate again to the text. And reading on, those frightened by sentient beings such as spirits, demons, wild animals, and snakes. So here we can think of, as the illustration just given, and others, where a being is in danger from being killed or harmed by other sentient beings such as spirits or wild animals and snakes and so forth. And here one can help them, save their life. There are many illustrations one can think, and the being that one saves can be an animal from being eaten by a predator or a human from being attacked by a predator. And here one is practicing the generosity of giving, of fearlessness.
Chigi Suedile, Yana Mire, Yanis Dundo, Semjing Sued, Mother, Chigi Sued, Suekin de Diroada, Yana Migi Suor, Yana Semjing Suor, Chigi Sued, Jason Desole Cuba and the Miji Bichimba, the Semigi Chipale Cubasa, Tichagoro. That then Sim Mebale, Sim Maybe Chipale Cuature, Vada Bene, Chuda, Meda, Chuda, Lungdang, Denegi, and Chulo Genji, and Chige meet. Nyanga si soyagi xie nya yu dele gyobada and me sure and me chi che mele me degi xie ge nyanga yu no solo gyo dele solo gyobya and ji lung sup chembo je and digi and ji me soyagi nya dele gyobya and sayom la sei ji ba sama lu che sayom ja da denegi ji soyagi nya desu ji ba le gyoya dige then desu in that gyapki chimba sa chagor mi ji bi gyapki chimba sa de.
So there, in this section, we see where the predator, it's very clear that the predator can be either an animal or a human. Then turning to the text now, the last section presents where the danger comes from an inanimate source. So not from an animate source, such as a human or an animal, but an inanimate source. Those frightened by inanimate forces, such as burning, crashing, drowning, and suffocation. So here we can, of course, think about beings whose life is in danger from bushfires or cyclones or earthquakes, these kinds of events which do sever so many beings' lives. Here, when we see beings in danger, where we can help, we should help them.
Sulia, Supola Naza, Leche, Junor Tubi, King, Naza, Naza Dele, and Zige Delia, Menchia, the Ming Robachia, the Honele, Netele, and she again, Yangatele, Jova, the Suena, and Dinade, and the Japi Chimba, that the soul said it did not Chazan Ducore.
Here, inanimate forces, these refer to the elements that the material world is comprised of being out of balance. When they're out of balance, we have burning, crushing, drowning, suffocation. So the Tibetan literally mentions the four elements, not illustrations as our translation has. So the way we can also understand it then is when these elements in our body are out of order, then illness arises. And here the giving of fearlessness is also giving medical treatment or access to medical treatment to those whose lives are in danger due to illness.
Angele denigi sole ko hiegi nyanga yobane denigi sole gyopje ko sole mashiba che ma gyobyage gyobaina da mijibe jimba se de mijibe gyapje jimba se de ko hiye meba charo chedu a는 거서 로바 cheje kola gyabaro wa 지다 gyapje jimba de바레스 ko gyapje 로바 che바레스 지다 미지be gyapje jimba se da 나디 chege도 와.
And then just to summarize, the giving of fearlessness is giving to those whose life is in danger of being severed, giving them the opportunity to live out their lifespan, helping them, protecting them, saving them, enabling them to become freed from this tremendous fear of their precious life being severed. One is giving them the opportunity to live their life.
하나 시에기 냥아 첨부질이야 아주 로바체제 타와이나 안는 지금 고 타와이나 미델이야 배 지금 셈바든 마선은 빨리 가오슈 자기로 와다오네 셈바 기고 배 당아 지금 미셀 마선은 사바나 신야게 지라서 선백배 셈바 가오지 미델이야 나그니 소 교선 빼면서 야구인 셈백이 미델이야 지금 게진 지수대야다 호로에네 배 셈을 허시시다 디는 가 소본 지 소기 시에기 냥아텔라 타송 셈백이 빼면서 가와시우기로 진짜 미델이야 아니 대화다 빼면서 기우시우게 기울 아니 미델이야 로버지간들 뺑은 고용할 로버지 야부시우셔서 가서로 교선 셈백이 제수이를 가와지야다 진 콜이야 아니 가와지야도 콜에 와사고래 근데 소수이네 소수기 현유 소교요도 근데 안 소수이나다 그 강아지는 여바딩이 겹투소 선비게 소소리나 가라나 차야지 제거로 와다가 제대로 선 나비네.
When one has given fearlessness to others, or perhaps one has observed it being done, it's very clear that the person or the animal who was in such grave danger, their life was almost certainly about to be taken from them, when they are helped unexpectedly and their life has been saved, such joy arises within them and so much appreciation and gratitude from deep within them arises towards the person who has saved them. An overwhelming joy arises within this clearly suffering sentient being. And this has been done in our context here by the practitioner. The practitioner has enabled someone else not to just have their life saved, but for great joy to arise within them, as well as with this joy, an appreciation, a gratitude. And this leads to the accumulation of virtue. And because of the strength of mind, a sizable amount of virtue is accumulated. So this, the practitioner has enabled the person to do as well as have their life saved. And then, of course, the practitioner themselves, who has saved the life of another, great joy arises within them, amplifying their virtue too.
나는 저기 개와치마 삼다미네 안 소소라랑기 안직 되네게 생기 소 교바 인사 디게 제보들이야 소소야 내나서 뉴와 안 세령와 용고레시 우라데 디제보들이야.
And for the practitioner who offers generosity of fearlessness, the karmic ripening result for them will include that in their future lives, their lifespan will be long, they will not suffer from grave illnesses and so forth.
이상 소수기 나제로 준비네 안에지게 나제 세에게 탑람되게 야라야다 안퉁게 야보라야 안지 내내되게 지 나제 나베네 면주셔야다 디네스 지도 안내데 야보 세투야 자투야 자레라 용고레세제.
So, for example, should a person who experiences illness, but if they have, if the ripening effect of previously having help the beings in grave danger, should that ripen, that will ensure that despite being ill, they will have access to medical treatment, and that medical treatment is effective.
Shen roba che tusa Maria Sambe Samlo Cheta, and Jike, Daddy Jelon Jigme Sambe Samlo Jig, Duba, Medic and Samlo Chungurua, Chizanga to do Chene Sam Dada, Shenligi, Mesolo, Jobia, and the Jige, Penny Shengi, New Sigi, Semjenda, Mida, the Nigger, New Sigi, Tony, Gangachi, Sol, and Yangayona, the swing is solo Jogi, Sambe Sam Diada. And as such, Benedict, Chuda, Meda, Lunga, Dimembe, Semjamembe, Shangi, New Casureda, Nenazada, and Chuda, Chuloda, Meda, Lunga, Denigi, Kingi, Shan Sol, and Yangayo, the swing is solo, October Chigi, Sebeda, Mida, Mima, Big, Nubi, Garitone, Shalia, Sol, and Yangayovan, Ding is this Chasang is solo, Joki, Samlodi, to do some of the Jangu, or Danga, some Jangu in Saravadanga, to say, some Yane, Yando, Yani, and Taidu. They some of the Shukcher Rodu, Shukcher, and the Sushi Rodu, and Denigi Ganga Tung to Tonyodu, and Delia Robachegi, the Lamsara Shinju, Letu in Saravadanga, some Janduria, and then Jitanga Jimbi, Yamlen Sedu, so Denigo Lochan, the Lord Bemas, Nuba Chamber Suitin, Yamlen Denigi, that. Tarsimba Joba, Jimbi Parsin Yamlen Zoba, Sigurwacha, Jimbi Parsin Yamlen Zoba, Denigi, Jalia, Yamlen Jeg, some died, somebody, the Yagi Tango, or Chesa, Rangu Mimber Jebas, Denigi, somebody, Yanuba Church Tango, Regile.
As with other trainings, the way one engages in the practice of giving of fearlessness is in one's meditation. One thinks of varying situations and generates the wish, may I help beings in that situation? There are almost certainly beings in this situation in the world right now. May I develop the capacity so that I can be of benefit to them. You develop a sincere wish to help beings in a time of crisis. And one does this repeatedly, and then when one encounters an opportunity, one is much more likely, where opportunity and capacity come together, to take that opportunity and to help a being in need. And then there'll be other times where one cannot help. Perhaps one is not directly there, but it's something one's reading about or observing through the news. Then one will still give rise to the aspiration, may I develop the capacity to help beings in these dire situations. May all beings be freed of situations. May I be able to help those in need. And in this way, even where we cannot directly help, we can still strengthen this heartfelt wish, this deep inner courageous mind that will stand up and be there for others who are in need.
Dene Sansingi Jimba, or that Sansingi Jimba, Juki Shengilia, the Kalatea, Natulo, that Denigis Sansingi Jimba. Delia Sadung Melton Naviki, Suman So, Norgi, Pomba, Namla, Deda Pamedu, Jeans.
The training in generosity has the three subdivisions of the giving of Dharma, the giving of fearlessness, and now we come to the third, the giving of material generosity. So here the text says, giving food, drink, bedding, healing medicine, and so forth to those who are impoverished. So I slightly changed the translation just to make it a little bit more literal. Giving food, drink, bedding, healing medicine, and so forth to those who are impoverished.
Malden labdi nganzu dulo so dulo goyada denige hangwala so bali nganzu gohegi denige denda nyesha da desuge kanga denige mebe kanga dene chabe mebe kanga dene ya desa da ne khanga da khangba denige mebe kanga Dene jige dal lulya ne naza jung de dene ke menju ji se hura dene ke da menju ji be thala mebe dene ke kanga yungro chaza dene ke dunga mangbu dunga ri nga zo ya de la da nga zo le gidi na ya ke dunga de da jige saya dunya da nga jige da ga ji 튕긴 초유 유지 튕긴기 토데 강아 토네 강아 리고랑 하즈래 진짜 데니게 강아디 세고고래 진짜 데니게 세야려야 아니 사야도에 맹들이야 사야도에 칼라제제 디 강아 세고래 둘로고에 맹한줄이야 둘로게 짐바든 제체는 고둥아 강아 세고래 데나 되서다 강바다 데니게 맹한줄이야 강비게 두치네 콜로 제제 강아 세고래 진짜 내 나자다 내게 강아 요번에 내일 명기 짐바다 mengi 토디 짐바 내다 세야다 누스네 가지고 강아데 세고고로 와 데네자 강아데 내 용고 진짜 디스 세야게 탑람들레 디시고로하다 매 동화다 사동다 말된다 누세만 연노 통반남라 짐바 당긴 선배기 대대솔 양이 되네 당긴 선배 섬로 자야디 디장고다 데네게 사야도에 매바나 둘로 매겐 데술량이 두스 로치기 세베 당긴 네 로버치기 세베 삼로다 야네 나자 가시기다 맹기 토네 지기 네 나자 유겐들이야 맹기 토네 로버치제 간데 로버치와는 데네 지기 세베게 어두스네 아니 지게 시인 롭종 마싱엔 나 자야게 튕기면서래 튕기던 로버치고 롭종 제야래 차야래 로버치기 세베게 당은 두스네 튕기디 파트기 세베게 당긴 세베 삼로디다 저게 다데 산싱이 진비게 삼로 냠nen지에 디디레다 냠네 삼리야 디수파티 니디 로지기 셈베 삼로디 야네 야도 따야데 아주 삼로나 디땅고 있어라.
The third practice of giving is that of material generosity. And as before, the object towards the generosity is directed, can be humans, animals, unseen beings, anyone in need. And here from the illustrations in the text is drawing specific attention to the fulfillment of basic needs. Because if whomever one is, whether a human or an animal, if one's basic needs are not fulfilled, so much worry and stress arises. If one lacks food or clean water, clothing, a home, or if one is ill and lacks any medical treatment, this causes so much mental distress. But on the other hand, for any being, should the basic needs be fulfilled, then not only is that deep distress resolved, but there is then the opportunity for a being to develop themselves, develop qualities within themselves. So here, the illustrations that are given are those of generating the wish to be able to ensure that all beings, without exception, have their basic needs completely fulfilled. One develops the wish that whichever beings are lacking any type of basic need, may I be able to fulfill that. May their needs be fulfilled. And here we could also include those who lack the circumstances they require, the conditions they require for education. Because education is of such importance. Through education, so many more opportunities become available for development. So here one also can generate the deep aspiration to be able to ensure that all beings have the conditions they require to be educated.
이사당 저기 전주 선배들이 누스전에 안내 섬제 탐시 산요 고방 토벌쇼 선배게 전주 쌤진 게네 되는 냠는 제래 진비 냠는 제도 안두스는 거래서 왔다 쌤진 지벌을 제 마당 예보당 되는게 안진 지기 전산로서 봐다 쌤진 시얘기 년아 가리 돈을 요번에 되게 차상에 소로 교비 선배 삼로 야내야도 누스 장제 안내 쌤진 소로 교야기 모소 라렌 다전 소로 교비야기 교야다 되는게 아직에 네바 네 나자로서 봐 되는게 돈에 안내 시얘기 냐 되솔 소로 교비 선배 삼는다 사야동야다 되는게 최위 튕기 돈에 강아 태되게 되게 강아 되게 파세기 선배기 세기 선배기 되는게 인자다 이 누스의 세긴 선배 삼로 야내야도 누스 장제 안내 되는게 모소 라렌 되게 전시 선배기게 되는게 강투도 모소 라렌 다전 누스 찰렌 지메냠레 남고레시레.
Bodhisattva has generated the strong wish for all beings to be freed of every form of suffering and achieve lasting happiness, and a determination to bring such a state about, or help beings achieve such a state. So here they, in their meditations, through meditating on generosity, they're strengthening their inner determination to ensure that beings achieve a state. They develop qualities within themselves so that they gain complete freedom. So here, one starts by thinking just on a simple level, I will help all beings in danger. Those who, especially those whose life is in danger and thereby have given rise to great fear, I will be there for them. I will help them. Moreover, those who are suffering fear because their basic needs are not fulfilled, or they cannot care for their loved ones properly, those who are hungry, those who lack a safe home, those who are ill, I will be there for them. I will ease their suffering and pain. And here the Bodhisattva will repeatedly, over a sustained period, meditate on generosity, all in this way, strengthening their mind, their resolve to ease the suffering burden of others, and in particular, to lead them in their development so that they can eradicate their suffering entirely.
jikpa kanga chiyung korwa an chige yang chige melo me shoya dang chulo jaya dang longsup jaya dang sayam jaya dang denegi lule ne naza di kengi an nga zui shiye ki jikpa nyinga chiyung korwa da nga zo de jikpa tili kanga dine chiyung korwa da di kanga dikile nga zo targo korwa di kanga chiyung korwa 다 강아 찍디 다 대선 가서 강아 대선 찍시에 다 대선 니버디 갈리고 쓰는 거 중에 다 사야동에 매배 강아 둘로 매배 강아 안지기 안당한 중에 내나설 용도 직면주제야 다 면주지기 튕기 매배 강아 양 로종으로 제배는 로종 제기 튕기 매배 강아 데니게 강아 터능아서 강아 먹고 실리고 와다 아들이 밀리아 강아 용한테 뒤로 와다 지상 아주기 디나 레가래야 돼 신기네 마시바동아도 직딘비 미기 레갈레데 가르선 니 돈다랑아 지게 레가 짱야레리고 바다가지 지게 사야동야다 면주제 세야다 디네 강아 세게 돈다라 나주기 레가 디짱야 지리고 지상아 강아 디용으로 진짜 니 강아디 강아 용고로 진짜 니 강아디 아주 세고고로 바다 세고한자 디니게 강아디 세고디 데네 딩이 싱이 세기 셈비게다 데수 강아디 징이 세기 셈비 로제제코 강아디 세기 셈비 삼로데 야네야도 땅바이나 땅바이나 삼로데야 니버 철쇼쇼고야 되가도 니게 첨부 내가 저기 진변 냠내제 삼로디 땅에 게치 첨부죠 다 삼로디 슉까지 여바이네 다 소수가 강아도 지투기 아니 그 소수기 니발을 빠베게 로바제 두고로와
The problems that beings experience, whether these are people or animals whom we directly encounter, or those that we don't directly encounter but perhaps we observe, the variety of problems that people encounter is so broad as to be said to be limitless. Can be from one being killing another, one being eating another alive, those problems on the natural environment such as bushfires, floods, earthquakes and so forth, as well as then another class of problems such as from a lack of good resources, where beings are suffering, say, perhaps famine, or due to impoverishment, hunger, or due to the degradation of the environment, they lack access to clean water. They perhaps have inadequate clothing for their environment, or they lack the access to medical treatment for the illness that they're experiencing, or they lack access to sufficiently good education so that they can develop skills within themselves. And it's to overcome these types of problems that ordinary people in our world engage in so many activities, not just people, but animals too. In fact, the vast majority of beings' time and mental energy is consumed with just either overcoming these problems or trying to prevent them from arising, or if they do, so that they're less severe. This consumes so much of beings' time and energy. So here, for the practitioner, in their meditation, they generate the strong and sincere wish, may all beings be freed from such suffering. May all beings develop the causes that will ensure they do not experience such suffering. And where they have accumulated such causes in the past, may they eradicate, eliminate, purify those causes, and thereby not experience any suffering results like these, or any at all. Here we generate this mind ever more in meditation, stronger and stronger. And the stronger that this mind is within us, then when we do encounter beings in need, not only are we much more likely to get involved, but we are likely also to be more skillful in how we help others.
잠니지 고묘도 semjen 탐제 대화다 되나 템퍼 쇼 선비게 삼다나 semjen 저 누구나 자와 쇼 세비게 잠니지 공바인자 제가 semjen 누구나 잠니지 공네 semjen 누구나 자와 대앙이 지긴 semjen 대화다 된바다 이 지긴 선비게 다고 다시 가소리 다산 남다디 로라 자와인자 제가 semjen 저 누구나 semjen을 누가 갈리고서는 다디 누구디게 지자 동안다 자와 쇼 삼바 잠기 고 동안 자투고 말봐 지자디 뭐소 라레 삼로디 자와 쇼 삼베 삼로 땅세외 제 야네 땅nen 델야 강아디니 세기 징이디 로 지기 삼베 삼땅도 아니 뭐소 라 안데니게 강투 지르기 아니 콜야 자야 동야기 로바체고디 멘기 로제 지구디 안지 메다 델야 소로 겨 로바체다 두신에 동아 세야제 동아 세야데제 다 semjen 대화다 덴바 쇼스베 내 데니기 동화 세야도 자야 동야 되데 고 조도의 동화 세야도 고 칼라테 제도는 사야도 신디기 용으로 사야 칼라세베 대화 용으로 사야 동야 그 제비 동화 세나 제비 대화 동화 세베 대화도 라 슈이리고래 동화 대화도 주나 동화 라시 코니 직세나 직중고를 따가제 데네 인자 저기 냠는 제에게 대신 삼는 땅와 나신 다 라렌 따라 두스타고 해디 디체고로와
I would imagine it should be quite clear from the presentation that I've given that for a bodhisattva who's trained for so long, cultivating love and compassion and generating in particular the altruistic attitude of special intention, that their every thought is pervaded by the wish, may all beings achieve happiness, may all beings be freed from suffering, may beings accumulate the causes for happiness and eliminate and no longer accumulate causes for suffering. Having these thoughts deep and powerful within them, as well as having given rise to the altruistic attitude, where they see it as their own personal individual responsibility to guide beings to achieve such a state, that in dependence on this prior training, meditating on generosity follows seamlessly. The wish to give Dharma, the wish to give fearlessness, the wish to fulfill all material needs follows seamlessly. And the Bodhisattva too, through their skillful training also in dependent arising, will understand that as they ease the suffering of beings, happiness will grow within beings. As beings suffer less, they are happier. Likewise, or conversely, where the bodhisattva can help being experience more happiness, their suffering will be overcome too. So it works in both ways. So here the bodhisattva sees the relationship between the fulfillment of the aspiration of love and the fulfillment of the aspiration of compassion, how these two work together, how the arisal of happiness weakens suffering, how the weakening of suffering leads to the arisal of happiness. And this all comes together in the meditation on generosity, which has as its basis the minds of love and compassion and the altruistic attitude of universal responsibility.
지상다 체델이야 되니게 강아 세바 점이 디교를 버선 디교 말고 그디네 깨와 치마이네 콜리아 디기고 거래 지상 디 다데디 강아서 깨와 치마야 디나신 강아 텐데 디교 말 지상 강아 세고 거래 지상 디네 인상 그디네 호 강아 세고 거래 디 그디네 디기 용고 거래 지상 디네 인상 깨와 치마야 디기 되니게 강아 마체게 된다기 가르쳐 동안 추기 진바들이 추기 진바들도 코리아 추지에 냠는 아니지 지 코로나야 진비에 냠는 제도 수림 냠는 쇠배 냠는 제 코로나 냠는 소수의 강한 신바데 난도 소수 콘솔 랍지 콘솔이 냠는 제주바이나 니네 때라 안 소수라나게 체델이야 콘솔에 진바 진비에 냠는 제바이네 발랍 되는 진비에 냠는 제바이나 코로나도 개와 치마기 튕겨야게 규사고래 제가 나중에 남바산이 비기 디기 소야데 차상 유단 견레 되는 연구고래 제가 유단 견레 되는 연구자 심전 대화의 템퍼쇼 삼바점 연구 그 안주기 권에 대화의 템퍼쇼 콜리아 대화 삼당 안주기 콜로 록버 제베이네 그 강한 내가 세기리데 콜이야 코로마오바네 디기 연기 유디사고 말아 연구고 말 제가 그 유사 주고 그래서 제가 되니기 아주 록바체 안 셈다 녀서 되네 안 콜이야 아니지 진비 냠내제 당 추림을 그 규사주 그래서 제가 대화의 템퍼쇼 대위 규대 템퍼 규대 템퍼 규지 규지 사주 제가 대위 규지 사주 바이나 콜이야 되니기 그 코랄이야 진비 냠내 제주야당 게직게 추림 소야당 되니기 냠내 제주 바이나 안디 규사제 뭐바나 코께와 치마 가와께we네 코롱은 튕겨다 강하며 봐 강하 세운 그래서 지 내갑디체래 안에 대행아주 추기 진바달다 추기 좀 망보고 때 디나신다 곰 냠내 제 띵예진 주비하다 신의 냠내 지야 동반이 또비기 동반이 바제 냠내 지야 또 제삼다도 누가여기 유조 녀모바 바차다 제바 빠야기 고 탑람 님보디 동반이 또비 시라라서 콜 랍지 곰주바이나 되니 누가여기 유자와네 매바스고 그래 지산 디기 여기 유용수 푸숨 쳐봐 주야다 동화여 유차사 매바서야기 띵기 대화 주야기 지고 지산 추기 진바디기 콜야 띵기 대화 용야기 동화려 줘야다 안디기 주야기 유사주야 동화여야 유자와나 제바 매바서야기 띵기 대화 토비야기 다 진바디 추기 진바디 차고 그래 상징이 진바세야디 내갑기 강아태야기 사야동야다 내나서 세야기 다 고가스네 콜리아 고여 주님네 저 수부 대상고래 내나 강아래 세고래 되니기 수부 대상 매바이나 아니 교이마나 아니 지기 주님네 저 고브라고 말어 되니서 내가 상징이 진바디 호 내갑기 콜리아 류나서 매바다 지발을 교야 돼서 최고 제가 되니서 데데 진바 추기 진바다 미지비 진바다 사생의 진바 숨보 냠는 지용도 샘전 탐지 샘전 디게 차사 내갑 대화 마음바나 기디나 대화 내갑 동안 매바 마음바나 동안 자와기니 매바 타야기 탑람지 띵고래 제사디 아주게 도스체는 냠는 지야 디게다 샘전기 조된 판바 주야 되는 스트럭처 자주선만 남기 도스체는 난고로 와다 내가 필요하다 이제. 집어라 추기 집이 지금 내가 없어 세월에 세디 동안에 교회 시에 타야 교회 지셔로.
The yogin will be very developed in terms of their spiritual training by this point. Their mind will be broad and expansive, and they'll have a far-sighted outlook. So they'll want to ease the suffering burden of beings right now. They'll want beings to have their basic needs fulfilled, to be able to live out their lifespan, and therefore will engage in the practice of offering material generosity as well as the offering of fearlessness in order to be able to ease the temporary sufferings that beings experience. But due to their wide and expansive mind and their far-sighted outlook, that will not be even the primary focus of the practitioner, because they will be aware that the beings that they are helping have on their continuum the causes that will lead to future suffering, and they are likely to continue to engage in the accumulation of causes that will lead to future suffering. So whilst the Bodhisattva will help beings alleviate temporary sufferings, they will also want to help them accumulate the causes that will lead to happiness in their future lives. So here, the skilled practitioner will, where they can, help guide beings in firstly identifying what the causes for happiness are and how to cultivate them. So here, the skilled practitioner, when they have the opportunity, in particular, will give advice on how to be ethical, as well as generosity, in particular these two, and if possible, the practice of patience, because it's these three that lead to the cultivation of causes that lead to good rebirths in future lives. So in this way, the skilled practitioner will either explicitly give the Dharma or implicitly give advice on how to be ethical and thereby create the causes for good future rebirths, how to be generous and thereby create causes to have an abundance of material deeds, as well as how to be patient and therefore achieve those ripening results of harmonious relationships and so forth. So this will be a focus of the skilled practitioner, and moreover, due to their own knowledge and experience, they will know that cultivating such causes for future lives is imperative, but that alone is insufficient. Because whilst those are the causes to ensure that suffering beings have good rebirths, even when good rebirths are attained, the being will remain bound in samsara. So therefore, the skilled practitioner, when the opportunity presents itself, will help others to develop the causes that will lead to lasting happiness, not just temporary happiness, not just the happiness of this life or future lives, but lasting happiness that comes when the suffering ceases, when one attains liberation from suffering through the elimination of the afflicted minds together with their seeds. So here where the Bodhisattva can, the Bodhisattva will train beings in how to develop concentration and meditative insight, and to combine that with the wisdom realizing reality. Because it's these two minds that are being developed that lead to the lasting happiness of liberation. And this is what the Bodhisattva truly wants to give to beings, is the ability to achieve the lasting happiness of liberation and enlightenment. So to be clear, every opportunity the Bodhisattva has to help beings achieve temporary happiness, the Bodhisattva will take those readily and practice the generosity of material giving or the giving of fearlessness. But their true wish is, where they can, is to give Dharma, and thereby to help beings have the very least good rebirths, but in particular to achieve the ultimate happiness, the unchanging happiness of liberation and enlightenment.
Adela Dor Duna Surda Chick Dushin, Shube Inasur, Dorduna, Lu Longju, Dusum the Sabe, Geza, Tamje, Pamedo, Tango, was Tangi, Sempiki, Tango, then the Tangi, Sempe Samla Jang, and the Jang man, Sosulia, and Jit Lu Longju, Keso, Gedachibas, Tamje, Pama Meba, Sena Meba, Tango, over that.
The text continues, in brief, with a free heart, give your body, possessions, and your merit of the past, present, and future in order to attain enlightenment for the good of the world. So here, without any trace of miserliness, the skilled bodhisattva gives to others all that they can, they have in order to bring benefits to others. When the opportunity presents themselves, they take that opportunity and give to others.
Kade Chine, Shalia, Simjalia, Tangi, Sambana, Yang Controlia, Lu, Longe, Jusumsabe, Geza, Chazan, Ya Controlia, Pugin, Sembigi, Sangi, Rangi, Lamada, Sangieta, Jajisamba Chazana, Pugin, Sembigi, Ya Pugin, Sembe, Samlodi, the Pugin, Yala, Pugin, Sambat, and Shan Malia, and Tangi, Sembe, some Lucian, Lo Jangores, Lo Jangje, Lo Jangje, then the Lalan Taduine, the Semje, Susuki, Lu, Longe, Gets Chazan, Shalia. Jig raw cheata, so sugi Kawasasi, Kawadia, Shengi Dona, Semjing Dondalia, and Moya, Semjan, Digi Yong short till Yong short Sembi more Jaya, and Yachi Conjolia, Rangi Kivishi and Lama La Soba, and this was Gusi Yundu Nevada, and this Sugi, and Sevatileti, Yong shorts, more Japche, Yapuyada, Shazan Duchene, and then go Regis, Semban, Tambo, some not dieting on the Duchen, some not junk, then also Lalenta Dus Nangores.
The body, the skilled practitioner or the bodhisattva has as their object to whom they offer offerings to are in two divisions. So there will be those objects that in dependence upon which a spiritual development, lasting happiness of liberation and enlightenment comes. So this would be those such as one's Lama and the three jewels. And to them, this is the one class of offerings the Bodhisattva makes. The other class of offerings are those who are suffering now. So the one class are those who are freed of suffering. The other class are those who are suffering now. And suffering sentient beings is the second class of offerings that the Bodhisattva a second class of objects to whom the Bodhisattva makes offerings. And they would offer their body, their material resources, their virtue, anything that they have in order to either ease the suffering that beings are experiencing or to strengthen their connection with the Lama and the Buddha Dharma in order to achieve enlightenment for the sake of others.
Geshe Chazanya, Sangelia, Pude, Lama, Sangela, Pubene, Carapando, Yoras, Ludi, Sangela, Quasio, Mara, now Sangelia, Yenden Bottom, and the Chunju de Sangela, Carapando, Sangela, Quayo, and Mogonetene, Trelado was and because I'm no secret. Then I was Lu. But Chazan, Lu, launch and it's Kiwa Karina, Yasangila, Pugin, Simchid, Nazu, Lu, down launch, Yasangila, Marawashida. Chizan Sangi said, the nigger Ganayo Machida, Quia Mever, Chizan, Magobana, Mazli Puna Sangila, Pandoyo, Marawaji, Puna Kajadi, Tagas, some Gubura, the was and began some loyal cigarette.
It's very possible that one may think, what is the point of making offerings, for example, to my Lama and the Buddha? Because as Buddhas, they have no need. What do I need to offer them? My merit. What do I have to... Well, what's the point of offering my merit? They don't need it. What's the point of offering my body? They don't need it. What's the point of offering my material resources to them? They have no need for these things.
Chicken Anzuki, Dusi, and the Puben, and Anzuki said, Peshet, Shanley, doing you to Bala, Pandogi, Peshet, Yungurua, Cisadineza, Sanjo Corona, the Koyoma, the Ina, Dangazu, Luno, Gesu, Sanjil Pugi, Sanju Korongi, Shengi, doing Dualia, Peshet, can stand in a town Roches or that they got Peshet and Dalpugore.
So whilst it is correct that Buddhas have no need for the offerings that they receive, they rather do utilize those offerings. So great benefit does come through those offerings, not explicitly to the Buddhas, but to the suffering sentient beings who are helped by the offerings that the Buddhas receive. So in this way, benefit comes from the offerings made to the Buddhas.
Penang, Tangi Lu Lonja Shazan, Lama Pugins, Sosuke, Lama Chile Pugins, Shazan Pubena, then Lama de Garjigresne, Jama, and that Pusa, the Lama Wansarawa, Lami, Dineza, or that immediately Jige Kolia Roach Kudu, Joshu Kanadu, Joron Kolia Rochi Shosada. 아니 결혼에 대한 지지 두신 로고구야 용으로 아니 강한 세투야 비주다 용으로 안 디로 차고로 와다가지 그래서 디네.
So, for example, if you're imagining offering to your Lama your body, your life, all your resources and virtue, then the way that this will actually be enacted is due to the causes created in the future. One's Lama will give one some advice, perhaps go and do this or go and help in that way. One will readily do so, because this will now be, perhaps we can say, a physical manifestation of the offerings one has been making. One will readily go and fulfill the advice of one's Lama.
자주 sembadige 두스네 냠는 난고래세 다다 나주이네 지바르와다 나주이네 제 산지오 고반 토고래 동화 세고에 디유튜브고래 되네 자다 나주이네 다 나주 류롱주 다 디지 자주 sem바는 삼타와 나시 나주이네 셈제 다 소로 교회에 간에 신앙이 되게 셈베 삼노다야다 되네게 안셈 지기 사야동야다 되네게 토네야 롱주 가르치 베제당도 콘들 로지 셈베 삼다야 다던다랑 저기 셴셈젠 베네 소지 냥아디기 요바네 간스 요바네 딩이 소래 쪼기 셈베 삼로 아니 셴셈젠디게 네 나서 자야동야 강아 간스 네 소래 로버지 셈베 삼다야 셴 안셈젠 야지 소수기 강한시비 롭종 파싱지 파게와디기 파 랍제 콘솔레 냠낸 제주 이번에 삼나 다마싱을 줄로 두수 장고래 되는 제고라서 냠낸 제야야 롭된지 선비게 삼능이 기디나 디지 선비게 당원도 두신의 삼로대 야내 양동안지네 주두신의 당국고래 되네 다바에는 아주 로디파 지기디나 지다니 다 숨다도 신디네 로디파 슈체체체 주고로 와다 되네 자당아서 차상 두신의 삼대 야내야도 당국고래 전주 선바다 상제되게 되네 냠낸 고래 선 건주 나와다 지기야 되네 지 선비게 삼다쟁아 두신 삼당국고래 지루와
As I've been presenting here, this is how bodhisattvas are training. And they being our role models, those that we look to emulate, we should train just like they do. So in a meditation, we start with the understanding that all that we have for the purpose of being of benefit to others. We train that in our meditation. That those whose lives are in danger right now and in the future, may I free them, may I protect them from that danger. All those who are in material need right now or will in the future, may I be able to fulfill their material needs, ease their suffering burden. All those who are struggling to fulfill their potential and overcome problems due to a lack of knowledge and skill, may I help them, may I give them or share with them their required knowledge and skills so that they can attain happiness. We meditate in the ways that I've been presenting here, leading to an ever stronger inner courageous mind of wanting to help others and ease their burden of suffering.
Denige ci neba tato cheda denige kanso ka denig legalea chin pe mas kuno delia tangone desulya dungale thaya da jibole kyobi sambe kuno den samje sosurana gi fasam nanda to dengi di jigin sambe samdaje nes kuno den khebaina ta lega leyo du tingone ra phayen di lalungo kuno den che dena lega lalungo su ta du ngone ra phayen di chagor phanto ngone chagorwa andi na shin azu 지게 시 롭종 제한 당하는 저기 뭐지 이게 안디 멤비게 시연 같이 통해 시연 롭지도 콘스 신이야게 되버 여러 콘스 마신가 콘스 신나 빼야고래 콘스 마신이 동안들 세르고래 동안 세기리 제자디 마신이 동안 등에 세기 삼제 콘스리아 하삼남다는 랍기 삼제 두스는 안질라바이나 랍요도 가지고 내가 되네게다 예행진 랍요도 가로 콘로 되니스 캐바이나 labgu wa da la du kuno de ni kewa mo su la len da la du monera nga ju 동웨 셈바 따와나신 모소라 라렌 따야데 니가 차도 거래. 인디 멤비가 저 내가 가르 레베네 지금 저게 지게 지소 십주시와의 나라 디멤비가 소속의 지금 가와 총가나 가와 렉레베네 다디링에 디레갈레바 차상 미마 셈지 샤인리아 판도 루야다 시행기 디기요야 콘소가 강하세게 도다 이야 셈베기 네 삼다생아서 레갈레 샤바이나 다디 군원딜레 야고 삼다 레가딜리고 어디네 레고스 레디 니가게 고시바 차고라 지상아 주기 류기 진바디 치윤기 진바다 류기 진바다 진비기 라렌 동의 선바의 다제 라렌 두치 레갈 오스체 라렌 따와 니가 차용으로 니네가 삼다야 되는 예 전부 차겠어라.
So I encourage you to continue in this meditation, like you've hopefully been doing in the preceding week as well as now in this following week. Because the stronger the wish one develops within one to give to others, the more one will do so. It will have a profound impact, not just whilst one is on one's meditation seat, but also slowly, ever more, whilst one is engaging with others, interacting with others. So those of you who work in the medical field, whether in aged care or as nurses or doctors, the stronger the altruistic attitude, the wish to give of your skills and talents to others, the stronger will be the beneficial impact of what you give to others and what they receive from you. Whether it's from a change in your way of communicating, whether it's from a deeper inner strength to look for solutions to problems, the way you give to others, the way you impact on others will change. And this will have an impact on what they receive from you. Those who work in education, it's exactly the same. The stronger your wish to be of benefit to those whom you are responsible for educating, the stronger that motivation, that intention is, the more skill in what you and care you'll take in how you present, the more skill in how you communicate, the more skill in how you overcome problems and be able to tailor to the individual needs of those before you. And from the side of your students, they will come to recognize how truly fortunate they are to have an educator like yourself. They'll recognize this not just through your change in communication style, but how they see themselves growing and developing too. And for those who are not working in the medical field or in the education field, wherever you interact with others, whether it's in business or in an office, the stronger you've developed the wish to give to others, the stronger this altruistic attitude to be of benefit to others is, you will have the intention that whomever you're interacting with right now, this person is of great value to me. At the very least, I will not bring pain to them. I will not communicate to them in a way that aggravates the difficulties they're experiencing. In fact, this encounter may add to their joy. May I help them in any way that I can. And so here, in whatever walk of life one has, whomever one encounters, through training and generosity, one gives of one's body to others in this way. One gives of one's skills and qualities, inner qualities, to others in this way. And from this, great benefit comes to those in our family and in our community at large.
개와 류응하게 쥐어봐대 개와리 좋아다 말어디 아주 군롱에 삼로thân 라리고 군롱 삼로들라 지하고 쥐어봐다 개와 류응하게 쥐어봐대 개와 주르고 봐 제가 디네 이제 빼는 아주 칼라 세베나라 다가로 받베네 지 칼라 세도 갑라 다 소소 저거 야야 치도 삼마다 아체 땡기 수분나려야 아니 무슨 망고 쇼저레스 나 제슬량의 칼라서具体 콘솔이야 저거까지 안되어류 되와다 기워 쇼쇼 선배 삼다 진짜 내내기 에너지 데 콘솔이야 디기 때비 진비기 쇠남디 뭐바나 아니 제슬이야 안 대시 tempan이 계획이죠 이제 미직비 최기 진발제제 아니 코리아 냠내 지주야 탈바다 탐지고 고 유튜브로 쇼 선배 내내기 삼다제 먼저 세야다 and Denige sometimes the Mango and Denige, and also Kalal Hammer or Chunjuriji, Jisam Yushabine, that the Panto Yushava is my bache, and Bayuene, and Delia Pusin Mampuer, the consul Saya depend Saya Rawa shows me consul Jimba in some Jitavina, the Kalal Hammer Uwene, call it Semjin Bumamboli, Jimba in some Patavana, deep higher consul Chidu in some Tachi Javena, the Gavachagurva. She's not done. Denige some mataje, Kalamando Yushavada, and Jiggy Kalasavine, they called the Jinadi, Denishima the Gavasa show, the Kulung Tone, Denisam Dana, and Zugi, Gavasa, Kalar Masona Dambo, and Jimazanelia, Chevachu, Conjoya, Push, Piachi Pui, and Dima, and Busindical, Subul Busindical, Kalais and Chitavina, G. Conjola Pubiki, Sonam Shisawara, Ma Businli Jimbataviki, Sonam Shisawara, Sonam Nisawara. China Denigo Sonam de Anchiga, Semjan Tamji, Digiyada, Sangi, Lama de Yukusi to Dag, Donda Insam, or Gavana, and Gawachisawara. Chisa, Denigi Gawa, Denigi Chunchu Gilianzo, Gawamangusa to Yachagora. Gawasawadi. Ma kala sane jimba in simpiki, conjola puchevo puyagi, conjola pubiagawa, and my jimba in some tide, jimba tavigawa, and the gawa dia, the nigger sashi gawa dia, and the same tamji diguan chidins, moagiada, and the rangalama soba sangi, and chicken cuisine to ten to the yin simpiki, moagavaina, and same tamja sanjo go want to be should yin some moagavaina, nigawa sagwas is that. Kunong Delia, Pembe Semju Gunia, and also Chevupuata, Jimbigi Yamlencha, and Judu Kewadi, Moaja, Moin Yamlencha, Chesa, Jongo, Jusunga, Savi, Kewa, Chewa, Dinning some down in Yamlenchi and didn't Nangor, the me, Saji Sembata, and Jing Yamlen Batik didn't Nangor, but also in a Denegi, Jigon to Tapshi Rada. And also some Chibariwa.
Buddha Dharma, the emphasis is on inner development, developing our minds. And this is crucial for so many reasons. But a way to relate to it here is whether an activity is virtuous or not depends on the motivation. So here we've been talking about the practice of generosity, which is developing the wish to give. Through engaging in these meditations, seeing an impact on them, one will want the impact that the experience one is gaining to be manifest in one's mind off the meditation seat as well, in our daily activities. And then, as the experience of the benefits of meditation grows, one will want and will seek out further applications. So, for example, someone who hasn't been engaging in meditation, they will, when they're hungry, they'll eat and then they'll be full and then they'll go on with their day. They may take a bit of care about what they eat and how much they eat and so forth. But that's the extent of their thinking. Someone who's trained well in generosity, for example, will eat the same meal in a very different way. They won't only be eating to satiate their own hunger. In fact, they won't be eating primarily for their own hunger. They'll be wanting to sustain their body so as to engage in ongoing spiritual development. They'll be eating so as to satiate the needs of the beings living within their body. And so they'll be wanting to offer material resources, material food to those beings living within their body and offer them fearlessness. Because if one doesn't eat, those beings will die. And moreover, a skilled practitioner who's making such an offering to the beings within them with sincerity, will recognizing that these are kind mother sentient beings with which even in this life they have connection with. And in dependence on this connection and the offering I'm making now, may I lead you to enlightenment. May you attain a precious human rebirth, and may I lead you to enlightenment. So what you see here is firstly a motivation before the activity is generated. The motivation is sustained during the activity, and afterwards all that virtue is dedicated. And then afterwards those leftovers, no longer mindlessly thrown in the bin. Rather, there may be, if they're put in the bin, one will think any beings that encounter this in the municipal dump may I sustain their lives. Or what one has that is not waste, but one can put outside for insects or birds to eat, one will do so, wanting to ease the suffering of others, practice generosity towards them, make connection with suffering sentient beings, so that when one does become a bodhisattva, in dependence on this connection, we dedicate, may I teach them the Dharma and lead them to enlightenment. And similarly, if one puts leftovers in or unused food in a compost maker, one generates a similar motivation to the insects that one encounters in this way. So here, through meditating well and gaining enthusiasm for what one's doing through seeing the benefits, one doesn't leave the minds one is generating on the meditation seat there, but ensures they stay manifest throughout the day. And then opportunities that we encounter in our daily life are no longer lost, but rather they become opportunities to be of benefit to others and to create ongoing virtue so we can be of ever more benefit to others. So this, and like the illustration in the previous segment, how in your place of work or the people that one encounters in the day, one, in dependence on a motivation of wanting to be of benefit to others, will be of ever more so. So too with our other daily activities. Just to summarize with the illustration of food, but there are so many. When one sits down to eat, one first makes the offering to the three jewels, creating virtue, strengthening our connection, being sure from the outset of our purpose or our motivation for eating. It's not just to eat something delicious, but it's for an objective of value. Then one eats, offering to the suffering beings within oneself, creating further virtue. Afterwards, one dedicates all that virtue now to the beings that one has connected with through this meal, either directly through those within oneself, or the myriad beings who, in dependence upon their work and their endeavors, we can eat this food. We offer the virtue to them. So this is how skilled practitioners live their lives. And we, where we are, we now try to develop this way of living too. Oh, it's a little over time, so we'll finish here. Thank you very much.